This is the Umbrella Academy podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're discussing the Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 6, A Light Supper.
You already know how this is going to go. Daddy's going to play all his little mind games on us, get into our heads, and he's going to turn us all against each other. You watch.
Luther, we're not 12 anymore. All right, we're grown-ass men and women. Hey, we can handle him. You want to know what's different this time?
Well, what's that?
You got me. We go in there as a united front. No more number one, number two bullshit. From now on, it's Team Zero.
Team Zero?
Team Zero. All the way.
Welcome back, fellow Brolly Dollies. This is TV Podcast Industries, and we are on to episode 6, A Light Supper, which is part of the second season of the Umbrella Academy. I am one of your hosts, John.
Welcome back, fellow Academy alumni. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
And rounding out this trio, and I'm somewhere in between. We'll call them Academy Dollies.
Brolly alumni?
In between. Brolly alumni, if you want. Welcome back, I'm Chris.
Yes, we're back. And of course, after all our talk of cherries on top, seasoning, and all the condiments in between, we are here for a light supper, which is apt, I think.
That was our discussion in episode 5 of the show, just in case you didn't get a chance to listen to the end of episode 5.
I had a lot of Salt Bay salting and peppering all over.
You really did, Chris. Remember, fellow Brolly Dollies, you can subscribe and check out our podcast over on our website at tvpodcastindustries.com. If you want to, you can also support us through Patreon at patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries, where you'll get the episodes slightly ahead of time from our main feed. So please, in any way you see fit, you can support us. But I think with that little public service announcement, on to episode 6, A Light Supper. Derek, who directed and wrote this episode?
The episode was directed by Ellen Kurras. She's a cinematographer by trade, mostly. Cinematographer on such awesome movies as Summer of Sam and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, one of my favourite movies of all time. Cinematography in that is fantastic as well. So great to have Ellen over here working as director on Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, great to have her here.
Definitely, really good. 2 of my favourite films. Absolutely great to have someone sort of coming from that movie background into the episode.
Absolutely. The episode was written by Erin Michelle Williams, directed some of her own short films that she wrote, but this is her first writing job.
Good stuff.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of people in the writer's room kind of cutting their teeth here, and it doesn't show. It's fantastic front to back in a lot of these episodes. So I'm really enjoying this.
And interestingly, on this show, what we're seeing is teleplay by as the credit that the writers are being given on the show, because there is a writer's room for Umbrella Academy. So everybody getting their credit for their episodes as being broken by them or fixed or put together by them. But there is a writer's room here. So that's an interesting touch. But we do see a lot of the directors that have been on board are people that are from the Netflix stable. Netflix really being seen as a studio now, where they have a bunch of actors and a bunch of directors coming into their various shows. One character, I only noticed it because we finally did watch The Irishman this week. One actress that's in The Irishman also appears in this show. The actress who plays Sissy played Robert De Niro's daughter in The Irishman. So she's kind of moving between Netflix projects. So,
excellent. Glad to see the crossover. Yeah. The cross-contamination or pollination.
Pollination, yes.
Depending.
Yeah, it does feel like an old school studio now when you see some of the Netflix productions. You see a lot of them back to back, and you see directors and writers moving back and forth between all of them. So, interesting stuff. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for this episode?
Sure. Allison gives Ray a peek at her powers. Dave visits Klaus's compound, and the handler offers Five a deal as the siblings meet their father for a light supper.
Yeah, continuing the trend of having kind of origin stories at the beginning of each episode. This episode kind of kicks off with Alison's origin of her arrival in the 60s and her living in the 60s. So I really like that she goes through that whole kind of backstory, and the way, the kind of mechanism they're using for that is her telling Ray all about her powers and all about what happened to her since she arrived. And she doesn't skimp. She tells him everything, doesn't she? She tells him all about what's going on.
Yeah, and
he doesn't believe her.
No, exactly. He asks her to prove it, for sure. And you kind of get a dark and light side to her use of these powers.
Yeah.
Firstly, she gets Ray a wonderful wardrobe from a shop that doesn't allow blacks into the shop.
Yeah.
So she rumors the owner of the shop, but then we see her back at the diner where they had the sit-in protest, and she kind of shows the darker side, where she keeps telling the guy behind the counter, who is the one that keeps pointing to the sign "whites only," is the one who I think tips coffee all over Allison. He just keeps pouring coffee and it spills out over to onto his hand, and Ray is having to tell her to kind of stop. And so, yeah, I really like that. And you're right as well. It is this kind of the backstories coming in at the start of each of the episodes.
Yeah. And really importantly that they did this thing. We talked about it back in episode 3, I think it was, where we talked about Allison not using her rumor powers to fix every problem in the world, because that's not a hard won problem. You haven't won anybody's mind and heart if you tell them this is what they have to do and then they do it. So kind of has to show it in the show. You know, again, remember the show is aimed at a different audience, a much younger audience than some of the shows that have dealt with these type of topics over the course of the shows we've covered over the last couple of months. So it probably does have to call out that there is a reason why she doesn't do it, and a really good way of showing it here. Like, as Allison gets angrier and angrier, showing her burning this guy's hand, effectively, because she's starting to lose control of the powers in a way. Not lose control, but this was what would happen if she became all powerful and used them to solve everything. She could go way too far, you know.
Absolutely. The other interesting kind of little addition to her powers that at least I caught in this was the fact that once she has rumored the person, then she can speak again without saying, I heard a rumor, to do other things or continue doing what she's already done.
That's right.
Which I thought was kind of interesting, because I kind of felt up till now it was always that she was having to say, I heard a rumor.
Yeah.
And so if she was like with the guy pouring the coffee, it was just say more. She would just say more, and he kept pouring. So, a slight little, sort of addition, I suppose, to that power of hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we called it early in episode 1 when we see them the Avengers style fight, where they had all seemed to have amped their powers slightly. This seems to be that their powers are amped, they're just not aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, Vanya's a control, Diego's additional control, on the bullet spinning, when he spins around the bullet, we can see additional control of the knife flick later on at the dinner table. So it seems that they're all getting additional control, if you will, or through them losing control, they're being open to additional power.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't really want to keep dipping back into the comic, but I just want to mention again that Allison's power in the comic is very powerful. So kind of the way they're taking it in the show, where she says words and people follow what she says, is one aspect of her powers. In the comic books, it is very much, she can say, you know, I heard a rumor you have a can of Coke over there, and the can of Coke will appear into existence. You know, that's part of her power. Whatever she says comes true. Whereas here, it's whatever she says to someone, they must do, is kind of the way it's plays out in the show. So, so it is massively powerful in the comic books. Here, it is massively powerful, just in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Chris, what is your big moment from episode 6?
So really, it's the continuation of the bad guy scene in episode 5. It is basically the culmination of Handler and Five having their discussion, where they sent Lila off to a corner. And we see why the Handler was asking Lila to keep Five alive because she needs something from Five. We find out that essentially the commission is run by the board, and once a year they meet. Only time, we're not sure who the members are or anything like that, but once a year they meet in a different time, in a different place. And essentially the handler wants Five to kill them. He was one of their best assassins as the commission. So she wants him to kill the board, and essentially so that the handler can be in control. So the handler who doesn't mind, changing time a bit. She doesn't mind kind of knocking things around because, and she says she was towing the company line in the previous season, saying that the apocalypse in 2019 had to happen. She can fix it. She can send them back. She can get all of the Umbrella Academy back to 2019, and they don't have to have caused the apocalypse.
Yeah.
She can fix the apocalypse then.
Do we believe the handler at all here?
No.
Not at all.
She just wants control. We see throughout this episode that she is basically two-timing everyone. So she has got the Swedes going after the Umbrella Academy. She's got Five going after the board. She's pitting the Umbrella Academy against the Swedes. She's playing all angles, and it will blow up in her face at some point.
I just think we haven't seen any evidence at all of her making an offer that she's kept as such.
No.
Is there any point that you can think of? She made an offer to Hazel shot her in the head because she didn't stand by it. She keeps telling people that, a couple more jobs and then you can go off and live your life in a perfect place. That was the offer all the way throughout season 1. If anybody who did the jobs that she wanted them to do could then go off in any point in time and live out the rest of their lives, but nobody got to do that. This offer to Five, I can see why he's skeptical to begin with and why he's looking for other options for other people that could help him out, like his father, because there's no evidence that she will allow this. And also, I definitely don't believe that the apocalypse is supposed to happen in 2019 is okay and just can be waved away because she says so. There's a big reason why it has to happen. So let's see what the actual offer is from her. But I did like it. I liked her description that, especially when she asks Five, do you like jazz, Five? And he responds exactly like I would with, I'd rather lick a cheese grater than listen to jazz. And I like that kind of reaction from him. But that's her description of what she would be like as a leader of the commission. She would just allow things to flow the natural way, and whatever way they go, she's fine with. Can't imagine that. She's the handler. She wants to be in control. I can't imagine that's anything like jazz.
Well, she kind of sexfully also says, once I'm in charge, we can riff jazz. Yeah, really good.
I do think that you hit the nail in terms of not keeping up to promises. I do feel that there's going to be a promise she has made to Lila, and that will culminate probably along the Diego lines, which is, look, because we see her in the bingo hall, essentially talking to Lila again. The topic of Five comes up, the topic of Diego comes up, and you can see that Lila probably doesn't want to do this to Diego. So I think that, plus with the earlier conversation, I think it means that's where that rift will start to come, and that's where Lila will do the slight trope of bad girl becomes good girl.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I can see that writing on the wall, but I don't mind it too much if they do it in the right way.
You can see the uneasiness though with Leela for sure, in the bingo hall. And I also just wonder whether that flashback of Leela that we got in episode 4, whether that is kind of an adulterated type of flashback that could be coming from the handler. And so, yes, it may be that number 5 was there, but maybe he didn't kill the two people that she's describing it in a way, if it were to be him, and maybe the truth will out. So I was kind of just wondering about that. But ultimately, in that bingo hall, she's kind of laying out her plan here that, number 5, if he takes her offer, is this scapegoat so that she can have plausible deniability for when the revolution comes. She, as you say, she is a lady not to be trusted at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, so that's really my big point for this. And then we do see at the very end of this episode that Five takes the deal. He meets the handler in her hotel room. He says he'll do it. And we do see that, the handler gives, Five a piece of paper, a slip of paper with where the board will be, and he has to jump forward in time. And actually, I've been saying 1983 for a long period of time. Actually, it's 1982. So forgive me on that. I can't remember I didn't write down the exact location of the place, but 1982. So he has to go forward in time. So what we'll see now, I think, is Five for the next 2 episodes or stuff. Stuck in this forward time.
Maybe that might be the way to go. Yeah. Hopefully, some of our Academy alumni did write down the name of the place that he has to go to.
Hopefully.
Well, let's hope. Yes, absolutely.
John,
for some unknown reason.
Indeed. Wait till the end for our pub quiz, and you might know. John, do you want to give us your big point for this episode?
Yeah, my big point is actually it's a bit of fallout, really, from the handler's duplicitousness, I suppose, and that is that Elliot gets quite a lot of dental work, and it's really, really gruesome. Because of the setup with the landmine or the claymore that killed one of the Swedes. And linking that to Diego, we do have a classic moment. It's the Swedish sauna, where there's a lot of Swedish being talked, and it ends up with sort of unharmed wieners in the end. And by that, I don't mean the dog. It's another great scene with the Swedes, and with the handler there as they are, slapping birch branches on their back. There is luckily just the right amount of mist within the sauna so that all the sort of the bits aren't exposed. And
I actually would say, to be honest, in fairness to the director of this, I think it's hilariously the right amount of steam that's in there.
It really is.
It's like, you could have a little bit less, a little bit titillation in the scene, but absolutely not. This is supposed to be like all the steam is from the neck down on everybody in the room.
It really is.
It's really funny.
But ultimately, they're given the location of where Diego is. The one word that without the subtitles I did understand was Diego. And we have here then the Swedes catching up with Elliot, trying to find out where Diego is. And my goodness, it is really, really gruesome. I mean, even just the fact of tooth extraction without anesthetic makes me kind of want to sort of curl up into a ball and rock gently from side to side. But the remains of Elliot in his father's dental chair, with many dental implements stuck into his face, and with fewer teeth, is found by Diego and Luther with the ominous words of ogre for ogre, an eye for an eye. So will this escalate things between the Academy of Seven and the Swedes? But certainly I will miss Elliot. I really wish they hadn't, dare I say, killed him off by episode 6. It was certainly a pretty gruesome way to go out, but I'm hoping Five will jump back in time and save him, because we do have a really interesting suggestion from his father, Sir Reggie, about, in order to control his jumping, that he should maybe work on seconds or minutes.
That's right.
And I'm just wondering, can he do something where he goes back to prevent Elliot from walking up those stairs? I doubt it, but nonetheless, it's a shame Elliot has got to leave us. I've liked his light relief. I loved his little, with each one of the 7, he's just been really good. It's kind of that outsider's perspective. But dental work gone horribly wrong for Elliot.
Yeah, I think the moment when that scene came on, when you heard Elliot arriving home, you're just going, oh no, when he sees the stray cat in the center of his upstairs area, and you're going, uh-oh, this is not going to go well for Elliot. It's really sad, because I think as a character, you're right, he has been really interesting to have in the background of all the episodes, as effectively his upstairs apartment in the now closed down electronics store, because he's gone a little bit crazy trying to find the Academy members. But as it starts to become more and more of the base for the Umbrella Academy, there's more and more people coming in. His bed was taken away when Diego was staying there with Lila. He lost his bed. And then we have Luther coming over, and Luther's taken the couch, and Five's there as well, and then everybody's coming to the house to meet. So his whole life was completely taken over by the obsession that he had for the 3 years since he first saw Klaus arrive in that alleyway outside.
Absolutely.
So it's really sad that they've killed him off in this way at this point in the series.
Definitely. I mean, I think the great thing about this whole sequence, from the sauna through to the Swedes catching up with Elliot, with these characters, is that ability by the writers, and what this show does, as we mentioned before, about cutting comedy with tragedy, or pure, in this case, pure gruesome, and violence. And it's this dark comedy, in a sense, that it is there, all around this, but it never fails it doesn't take away from then something like this for, a character that certainly I've really enjoyed. Yeah. So, I thought, needed to give Elliot, his spot in the light, or the dental light, in fact, should I say. Yeah. So maybe a clue for the pub quiz question as well.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
I may have two pub quiz questions.
I clearly haven't seen your pub quiz questions for this week.
It may not be a real pub quiz question, but nonetheless.
But, so then, that is your top point. Derek, what's your top point for this episode?
Well, you've left me with the biggest point of the episode, guys. The meeting of Reggie and his family. It normally doesn't happen. I normally get small points because I normally go last. But yes, the meeting of Reggie and the family. I really like it because they clearly go there with ulterior motives, and I love how the family play off each other. Everybody wants to be the one to tell Reggie how horrible a person he is, or to show them how great they are. And Five just wants to get him to help them out stopping the apocalypse. Five is absolutely the most rational one in the room, but I really like just the touches of what's going on as each of them are showing off their powers, and it's going really badly for them. It really is. We do have Diego throwing the knife you mentioned earlier on, John, as it curls around the head of Sir Reggie when he's showing off his powers. The first one, I think, that shows his power. Reggie responds going, well, that's two, as in you've thrown knives at me and missed me twice, and he takes a note in his notepad. So
absolutely.
It's really, really harsh. You have Vanya using her powers, slightly more control, but still explodes the fruit bowl across the entire table, covering everybody in fruit. You can kind of get the reaction from everybody going, well, at least you didn't blow up the planet this time, but I guess that's a bit better, the absolutely awesome Allison using her power to rumor Diego to punch himself in the face, which he does instantly to hilarious fashion as well.
Absolutely. Like, Diego actually comes out of this slightly more kind of sort of back in himself again. I mean, we get the stammer back as well. Whereas, going into this meeting with his dad full of confidence, it's like, forget the numbers. From now on, it's Team Zero. What a great thing that you say is there. Mm-hmm. This united front against their dad. So I really felt sorry for Diego. Absolutely. Here.
Because his stammer even returns again as he has tears running down his face, being told by his father that he's useless again, even though this man doesn't know that he's the father of these kids. He still takes it out worse on Diego than on anybody else. And Diego was the one that really feels the pain of it.
I think he says, that delusions of grandeur.
Exactly. Diego taking kind of the leadership position almost because he's not being listened to. Luther then takes that on board as him being ignored as he has been for so long by his father, stands up, rips open his shirt and goes, "Look what you did to me," showing off his chimpanzee chest or his ape chest to his father, who will have no idea what that's supposed to mean at all, other than this is a very big man with a very hairy chest. Why is he blaming it on me? And finally then it's Klaus not really showing his power, but Ben basically emerging through Klaus to show off his power, but to their father, it effectively looks like this drunk guy walked into the room and is going crazy in front of him. That's a kind of it. So all of them really fail at using their powers to impress their father. Remember, he still had that opinion of Luther when he met him first, going, "You couldn't possibly be my child because of the type of person that you are." So I don't think any of the rest of them assuaged his opinion there.
No, with the exception of possibly number 5.
Well, he gets rid of everybody else, realizing that 5 is the only person there that has got a brain on his shoulders. So the whole plan of the family to kind of get their own back on the man that treated them so badly over the years didn't really work for them at all.
No, it did not. The one bit I did want to just call in there is, first of all, Diego, that scene, oh God, that killed me. That was just, that was heart wrenching. But Ben taking control of Klaus. Previously, Klaus has just told them Ben can't travel, Ghost didn't travel through into the past. So they now know Ben is there? Question mark?
I guess so. Unless Klaus explains it away in a different way.
Yeah, because Klaus was doing that thing again to say, "I'm not going to say you're here." Yeah. You know, again, really dip shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, this is, I think that they potentially, in the next episode, in episode 7, they will ask, is actually Ben with us? And then he'll have to say, yes, he is. And I've been mean to him.
Yeah. I also think as well with Diego, it feels like he is now ready for the world to burn. He feels a little betrayed by his brothers and sisters, where he says so much for Team Zero, felt that no one was really having anyone's back in there. And they all got shot down, as you say. But then he does tell Grace about Sir Reggie and the 12 and his notion as well, even though number 5 is still saying to him, "You're jumping to conclusions." Yes, it doesn't look great, but we absolutely don't know for certain that he's trying to kill JFK here. Yeah. But that's exactly what he tells Grace, who's in the car outside of the tiki bar, where they go for their light supper. Yeah. So I kind of feel he's maybe chucked a little bit of a match into the room filled with dynamite here. I wonder if this affects Grace in some way, or does this result in her dying, and so he creates the machine version of her? It's difficult to know, but certainly it felt like Diego was kind of lighting a match to the dynamite room, to be honest.
Absolutely. I did love the scene with 5 and Reggie chatting to each other as equals.
Definitely.
I thought that made a lot of sense because, again, seeing 5 as a character being treated as a child so often by people when they see what he looks like, he's never really been around contemporaries, people of his own age. And I love that he kind of starts that conversation with Reginald saying, "I'm actually older than you are right now." And Reginald actually believes it instantly. He kind of goes, "Okay, well, actually, you know what? Let's have a drink together." You know, and they have a little glass of cognac together, which is really cute that they do that. And genuinely, Reginald does seem to kind of help at least the mindset of 5 out. He doesn't give him the key to solving the big mystery and key to solving the apocalypse, but he does help him out, as you mentioned, John, this idea that maybe he's jumping way too far, maybe he's using his powers way too big, and should be using them smaller, maybe jumping in seconds or jumping in minutes or jumping in weeks or days or years,
or building it up even
decades.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting idea that this is something that from episode 1, I think, when we first saw the confrontation really between 5 and his father at the dinner table when 5 disappeared into the future. From that first moment, all he's been doing is trying to get his father to be interested in his powers enough that he would show him how to use them well, like he did with everybody else. Yeah. He knows how to jump around a room. He knows how to jump and do individual things in this current time zone, but he had a theory that he'd be able to jump in time, and his father never entertained that. Whereas having this one-on-one as equals conversation with Reginald Hargreaves in the tiki bar, he actually seems to get some kind of guidance from, which is a nice little change to their dynamic as well.
Well, that's it. And I think for number 5 as well, he has known his father the least amount of time of any of them, despite being able to manipulate time the way that he does. And it's also just, I think, Sir Reggie's advice to him about jumping seconds or minutes and building up that power or the control of that, not just going for the full decade or century in one go. And I like when he just says, because so much can happen in a second, an empire can be overthrown, you can fall in love, and so on. It's really, it's a really interesting way of him having that little bit of advice for number 5.
Exactly. Really good. One little touch I was going to just save as a note, but one little touch I liked. You'll remember from the comic books, Chris, the way that the Umbrella Academy themselves travel around the world is in the elevator, in the lift that transports them to various places. I liked that all 7 of the Umbrella Academy arrive in a lift to go and meet their father and leave in the, well, we call it a lift, in an elevator at the end. I'm sure that was a reference from the comic books that they're all stuffed into this elevator.
I think so too. And they, as part of that, there is that joke around poor number 1 not being able to hold in his nervous gas and them all running out. I love that.
Good. Good fart joke. Who doesn't like it?
Exactly.
That's kind of the big points for the episode overall. I'm sure there's a few things that everybody wants to cover, but since he gave me one of the big points from the episode, I'm going to choose another one of the big points that we didn't talk about from the episode. Klaus talking to his followers, the cult, because this to me was absolutely a reference to The Life of Brian, Monty Python's The Life of Brian, as you had Klaus coming out and standing in front of his cult and telling them he's a fraud, and everybody in the room going, I'm a fraud. No, I'm a fraud. Really,
no, he's not. He's a very naughty
Exactly. It really felt like he's not a messiah. He's a very naughty boy, from Life of Brian. Really interesting, really fun scene. I love, again, this kind of battle between him and Ben, when he actually does what Ben wants him to do, and then it all fails and falls apart, and then he goes in and has the argument again with Ben going, I did what you said, I just didn't do the way you said, and now that's not good enough for you either. You know, so they're still battling with each other, even though Ben's having a little bit of a more positive influence on Klaus, but it's still not working out, you know? Absolutely.
I love the fact as well that he goes from his room where he's doing his yoga poses in his nappy, or what looks like a nappy. I know it's not, but, or his underwear. And, he goes, I'm Klaus and I'm an Alka. Wrong meeting. Really, really good. Yeah, that whole scene was superb, and it contrasts with the other element of Klaus here, because he gets visited by Dave, and you feel like they're going to make headway here, and ultimately it doesn't quite go that well.
Yeah.
And I think Dave calls him a peacenik, kind of reference to them being kind of Russian agents, trying to get peace instead of continuing the war in Vietnam.
Right.
But also, the interesting thing is that actually the intervention that Klaus did in the diner has meant that the timeline has altered already, because Dave signed up early. So Klaus is unable to prevent him from going. Now, whether that does anything else to shift other parts of the timeline, who knows? But it's suddenly, I think this is the first moment where the timeline has been altered in terms of the timing, and Dave has signed up earlier than he would have done under normal circumstances.
Exactly, yeah. So this is kind of the thing about time travel, isn't it? So this idea that he's there to stop a situation from happening, and that actually might happen even earlier than he wanted it to. Yeah. And also, Klaus kind of calls out the fact that he thinks Uncle Brian, Dave's uncle, is actually a closet case, is a person that is hiding his own sexuality, and that's why he's so forceful to send Dave off into the army. So I just thought it was an interesting kind of element that we hadn't seen in the conversation that they had in the diner last time, but potentially this is the reason why he's so forceful about Dave getting out of here and going off to war, because he felt exactly the same way before being sent off to quote unquote become a man in the army, you know. So I do love the argument that Klaus is coming up with him going, you know, you can absolutely stay here and become a man. You don't have to go and go into the army to become a man. That's not the thing that you're destined for. And if you do go, you will die. And the response from Dave is very much, well, that is the risk you get if you go into the army. The risk is you'll die. So, giving my life for the country is what I want to do, if that's what my destiny is. So there's two sides of an argument there, I suppose. It's just the fact that he'll have had to give up his entire life to go into the army, forced by somebody who doesn't want him to be gay like they were, basically, is kind of the idea. So, good scenes though.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this, and it's for me is, as you guys said, what is the impact of this? And also that whole, I can't even remember which TV show it was now. We've covered many, but it's all about making ripples in the timeline, not big boulders dropping into the timeline of the stream.
Yes, that wasn't the TV show that we covered. That's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which you guys still haven't let me cover, and it's on its 7th and final season at the moment. Yeah.
Okay,
so it's our fault now. Oh my goodness! What a shocker!
So that great terminology is on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which Derek does put spoiler posts up when he remembers, over on facebook.com/group/TV podcast industries, where we do discuss it when we can. It is really good at the moment, but essentially they're talking about making ripples and not waves in this time stream. What we're seeing here is they're starting to make waves. They're dropping boulders. They've made ripples, and that's fine. But these waves, these boulders, are what culminate in bringing the apocalypse with them, quote unquote. In other words, bringing it forward. JFK being saved, the communists kind of invading a few days after, and then it all resulting in the destruction of the world. So it's just interesting to see. That's my big question.
What are the other big storylines from the episode as well? Vanya?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a huge ending for the episode. This was one where you're actively worried that we know what Vanya's capable of when she loses control. This is the point she can lose control, where the husband comes back or confronts them or beats the wife. And that brings the inner rage. We saw what happened when Leonard was destroyed in the previous season. This is a similar trigger where actually she's even now more head over heels.
Absolutely.
So it'd be interesting to see. I would have thought this would have come later in the season, if I'm going to be brutally honest. But it's good to see that they potentially might wrap this in the next 2 episodes. And still leave a good chunk of time for the repercussions of that to happen in the remainder of the season. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely, you know, I wonder, is this just going to be the death of Carl, and that will also push Sissy away from Vanya, if that's what happens, if she takes out her power on him, or will it be bigger than that? Will she be unable to control her rage and kill all of them in that little house, in that little farm that she's living in with them? You know, will it be that big, another big explosive moment from Vanya, or will Harlan be able to calm her down in time and save the family? You know, I'm wondering, all of this stuff as the two of them are sharing the car and kissing with Carl looking on, you know, wondering what's going on in the car with his wife, and their childminder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he doesn't even need to wonder.
knows.
He can see it in the back window. Oh yeah, we're going to get a Titanic moment.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Anything else from the episode that we haven't talked about, guys?
No, I think that's all from me. Yeah.
Oh no, that's all for me, but I just wanted one final thing. I'm going to do a John on it and just take a tiny bit and say we're finished, but we're not really. I love you, really. Essentially, it's the message the Swedes leave for the Umbrella Academy, Oga for Oga. Which is Swedish for eye for an eye. I did not think that. It took me a second. I just read the for Oga and I went, oh my god, we got the name of the guy who's dead.
Ah, right.
No. Yeah, I thought for a second it was that. And then as soon as I saw Oga for Oga, my brain jumps back to Anna McBeal from years ago, where we had a dancing baby, CGI dancing baby going ooga chaka ooga,
Okay.
ooga chaka ooga ooga. So it's actually, I saw ooga instead of oga.
There you go.
But there you go.
So your brain is going
It's a
all
quick
across
inner
the
working
timeline.
into how my brain works.
Yes, what a scary world, ladies and gentlemen, we are entering into.
You have no idea. But that's all from my notes.
But with that, Chris, what did you think overall of the episode?
I really liked this. It was a bit of a slowdown, but strangely not in too bad of a way. Yeah, I don't know. This felt in very much a culmination episode where we finally meet Reginald, where we finally find out the Handler's plan, where we finally get the end of Vanya's, or the ending is coming for Vanya's love affair, all these different things. So I think this now then moves us into Act 3, if you will, of the season. So So I did really still enjoy this. I'm finding it, again, I bring it up, they're packing a punch in every episode. The timing is perfect in terms of there's no downtime. Even the downtime of them standing in an elevator, which may have been cut or in another show, or where they showed it and they would have just done kind of cheap dialogue. They bring that humor in it. Or into it. So it's still really, really good. So overall, I'm still loving this season. We're 6 episodes in and I still haven't grabbed my phone yet. So, great 2 thumbs up and, a fart in an elevator from me. Derek, what did you think of this episode?
I think, like you say, Chris, culmination episode, this was exactly what I was hoping for. Seeing all of them come together as a team to meet their father is what we've been waiting for most of the season. We knew Reginald was here right back from the start of the season, and we knew all these various members of the academy had to get together at one point, and finally we have them all together around a table. And it goes horribly, which is exactly what you want from this group. You know, the dynamics between these actors together are so good. We've seen it in so many scenes when they've all been separately working together, but seeing them all around the one table in this one scene, I think is really good. And having the interplay with still this very, controlling person like Reginald Hargreaves sitting in the room with all these people going, why are you making me watch these parlor tricks? Or why are you making me watch these terrible superpowers? Why would I possibly want to see this kind of thing? Don't blame me for your shortcomings. You know, it's exactly what they didn't want to hear from this guy. Every single one of them hears the exact opposite of what they hoped they'd get out of him. They were looking for apologies from a man that doesn't even know he's done the things that he's done in the future. So, a really good episode. Really enjoyed that as the central piece that it was all hanging on. And it's been building up every episode to this, and to be done so well in this episode was perfect for me. I think it's a really good episode. I'm looking forward to more of this season. John, what did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really, again, liked this. This is becoming a habit for this show. I just love the snappy dialogue. I love the cadence of the jokes and the move between the jokes and the other elements of this, whether it's personal tragedy, such as besetting Vanya and Sissy, or with Klaus and Dave, even internally with Diego, effectively becoming zero in his own eye, and reverting back to that stammer, or whether it's, you know, it's just really nicely done, and sort of with the backdrop of this nuclear apocalypse hanging in the balance. So just really enjoyed all of this. I would give this 4.5 unharmed wieners and licking a cheese grater out of 5. I think it was, really good. It is. It's just connecting so nicely, I think, between episodes, within episodes. Having this, you know, the big set piece of the light lunch or the light supper with Sir Reggie, and him effectively shredding everything that they've kind of built in this since they arrived in the 60s, and in particular Diego was just kind of so well done. Leela and the handler, you see the handler is working the room, so to speak, and you have Leela kind of having to sort of maybe just wonder a little bit if maybe she does have to put Diego into her sights, even though she probably doesn't want to. And the Swedes, gruesome, but also have their sort of ironic, funny moments with the sauna as well. Mm-hmm. And dare I say it, R.I.P. Elliot. Absolutely. Let's hope number 5 jumps on back a few moments so that he can stop you from going up those stairs into your apartment.
Absolutely.
But really liking it.
It's all about those seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really liking it. So great.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, with that, I think it's about time we jump over to the Pop Pub Quiz.
Yes, fellow Brolly Dollies, we are back into the carousel bar, or should I say, no, what on earth am I talking about? We are having a brandy at the tiki bar here at the bar, on the bar stool, getting ready for, our Pop Pub Quiz. So for episode 6, the question is, when and where will the board of the commission meet? To repeat that, when and where will the board of the commission meet? And this is relating to the deal brokered by the handler with number 5 to go back and cause significant damage to the board of the commission that control these timelines.
Yes.
So yes, please send in your answers to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com to be in with a chance of the Umbrella Academy goodies that we have.
Absolutely. Yes. Go onto your Netflix, pause that scene, read the note, write it in an email, and email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. There's your answer.
My alternative question for this was going to be, describe the dental procedure performed by the Swedes on poor Elliot.
Oh no, John.
But I am thinking probably best not to.
Too soon, John. Too soon.
Yes, too
soon.
Too soon.
Fellow Brolly Dollies, if you want to answer that, you get a bonus point.
Oh no, please don't. I have to read these answers, John.
Yeah, a little bit of temptation there on the pub quiz. Bonus points.
So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll join us for the next episode. Yes, we hope you will join us for the next episode, where we'll be discussing episode 7. But more importantly, you make sure you stay subscribed to our podcast by heading on over to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can catch us on every good and evil podcast catcher. Or why not jump onto patreon.com/tvpodcastindustries, where just for a single $1 you can subscribe to us, and you get each and every episode early, and maybe the odd 1 or 2 exclusive goodies. Who knows? We'll be back next time for our discussion of Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 7, Ooga for Ooga, Ooga Chaka, Ooga, Ooga, Ooga Chaka, Ooga, Ooga. I just got that feeling.
Oh, I love that both of you are singing 2 different parts of the same song. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, if there is a note in there somewhere, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us again. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brolly Dollies and Academy alumni. Yes, I'll chuck that one in as well. It's a pleasure, as always, speaking with you, for sure. Remember, keep watching, keep listening, and keep light suppering.
Keep light suppering.
I was going to say lunching, but it wasn't lunch. It was supper.
Yeah,
so keep suppering.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
That'll work. Sure. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.